Apologize to my mother. Those 4 words came out of my husband's mouth in front of 20 people. Every fork stopped moving. Every eye turned to me. His mother sat there smiling like she'd already won. I had a 3-year-old son on my hip and 7 years of marriage behind me. And my husband was ready to throw it all away over an apology I didn't owe. Nobody at that table defended me. Not one person asked what actually happened. So I did something nobody expected. I picked up my son, I grabbed my bag, and I walked out the front door. What they didn't know is that I had been quietly preparing for this exact moment for 18 months. 3 days later, my son and I boarded a flight and disappeared to the other side of the world. And 2 weeks after that, my husband showed up at my door with a secret that changed everything. My name is Emily Carter. I was 34 years old. And this is the day I found out my marriage had been broken long before that dinner table. It happened on a Saturday at the Carter family cookout. Aunts, uncles, cousins, more than 20 people crammed into the backyard. I stood near the patio helping Lucas finish his juice box, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. Family events were never easy when Jason's mother Diane was around. For 7 years I smiled through her comments about my cooking. I stayed quiet when she questioned my parenting. Jason always said the same thing. She doesn't mean anything by it. That afternoon, Diane announced that Jason's sister Grace was postponing her wedding. Instantly the whole yard filled with questions. Then Diane turned and pointed straight at me. Maybe if Emily hadn't filled Grace's head with all this independence talk, she'd be married already instead of stalling. The backyard went dead silent. What? I said. You heard me, Diane snapped. Ever since Grace started spending time with you, she questions everything. Heads nodded around the table. Nobody looked at me. I felt my face burn. I never told Grace what to do, I said calmly. Of course you did, Diane shot back. You always tell people to put themselves first. It wasn't Diane's words that broke something in me. It was Jason. He stood right there. Watching. Saying nothing. I looked at him, waiting for my own husband to stand beside me for once. Instead he sighed and said my name like I was the problem. Emily. Just apologize. For what? I asked. It doesn't matter. Just apologize so we can move on. I looked around that table. 20 faces waiting. Not for the truth. For my surrender. No, I said. Jason's jaw tightened. Then he said the sentence that ended our marriage. Apologize right now, or pack your bags and leave. Stay with me, because what I did in the next 72 hours is something Jason never saw coming. The silence after that sentence felt endless. I looked at my husband and for the first time I saw him clearly. He wasn't choosing between me and his family in that moment. He had already chosen, probably years ago. Without another word, I picked up Lucas and walked to the front gate. Nobody followed. Nobody called my name. That night, while Jason's family assumed I would crawl back and apologize by morning, I opened my laptop and booked 2 one-way tickets out of the country. The next morning I felt something I didn't expect. Not anger. Not regret. Just calm. Over breakfast, Jason acted like nothing happened. Coffee. Emails. His phone. Neither of us mentioned the cookout. Neither of us mentioned the ultimatum. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. He truly believed I would give in, just like every time before. That afternoon I started preparing quietly. I called my old college friend Rachel, who had moved overseas years earlier. You can stay with me as long as you need, she said, without hesitation. I already had savings. Not secret money. Just money I had quietly set aside for years, the kind every woman should have tucked away just in case. Over the next 2 days I gathered passports, birth certificates, medical records, everything Lucas and I might need. I hid it all in a folder at the back of my closet. Meanwhile, Diane texted demanding I be mature and apologize. Grace texted saying everyone was waiting for me to make things right. Not one person asked how I felt. Not one person asked why I left. They only wanted their version of the story back, the one where I take the blame. I didn't reply to a single message. 3 days after the ultimatum, Jason left for work at 7 in the morning. He kissed Lucas on the forehead and told me we'd talk later. He had no idea it would be months before he saw either of us again. 2 hours later, Lucas and I sat inside an airport terminal. My heart pounded through every boarding announcement. Part of me expected Jason to burst through the doors. Part of me expected someone, anyone, to stop us. Nobody did. When our flight was called, I took my son's hand and walked to the gate. 10 hours later, after we landed safely on the other side of the world, I turned my phone back on. Messages flooded in. Missed calls. Voicemails. I ignored every single one except for a text I sent to Jason myself. You told me to leave, so I did. His reply came back in under 2 minutes, and it made my stomach drop. Emily, there's something you were never supposed to find out. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But after 7 years of marriage, I needed to know what could possibly explain everything. I called him. He answered immediately, his voice exhausted. What was I never supposed to find out? I asked. Long pause. Then he exhaled. My parents have been controlling our finances for years. I froze. What are you talking about? The money we were saving for our future. A lot of it never actually stayed in our account. The truth came out slowly. For years, Jason had been quietly handing large amounts of our savings to his parents. Sometimes for real emergencies. Sometimes simply because Diane demanded it. Every time I asked why our savings grew so slowly, there was always an excuse. Unexpected costs. Bad investments. Family obligations. I believed him every single time because I trusted him. That cookout was never really about Grace's wedding, Jason admitted. My parents were furious because I finally told them I couldn't keep putting them ahead of you and Lucas anymore. Everything suddenly made sense. The pressure. The manipulation. The years of being made to feel like the problem. That ultimatum was never about an apology. It was about control. And when I refused to play along, they expected Jason to force me back into line. He did exactly that. And it cost him everything. Months passed. Life overseas became peaceful. No arguments. No family pressure. No endless demands. Just me and Lucas building something new. 3 months after I left, Jason flew out to see us. We met at a quiet cafe by the water. He looked tired. Older. Regretful. I was wrong, he said. I should have defended you. I believed he meant it. But the woman who once needed his approval didn't exist anymore. I spent years trying to earn a place in your family, I told him. It took one afternoon to show me I never actually had one. His eyes filled with tears. Can we start over? I looked out at the water, then back at him. I hope you become a better man, Jason. He already knew what my answer was. A few months later, our divorce was finalized quietly. No drama. No revenge. Just closure. Today, Lucas and I still live abroad. Our life is smaller than before, but it's honest, and it's ours. If someone asks you to shrink yourself just to keep the peace at someone else's table, remember this. Leaving is terrifying, but staying can cost you the one thing you can never get back, which is yourself. If this story hit you somewhere real, hit subscribe, because there are so many more women who found their worth the same way I did.